Yay guys, I am finally making the moving out at 22 video step by step. People do not talk about this enough, and it kind of frustrates me because obviously we all eventually have to move out at some point. We all eventually have to blossom into our own people, but I feel like, at least for me personally, I wasn't taught exactly what it meant to be an adult and how to adult properly. And a huge part of adulting is moving out and getting your life together and starting over as an individual and less as a child in your parents' home. I used to be really ashamed of the fact that I was moving out at 22. I thought I was super old, but now that I live on my own, I realize that it's so common for people to be living at home in their 20s, and I actually was quite young after kind of doing some realizations. And I hope that you really enjoyed this video and get some insight off of it, and I wish you luck on your journeys in moving out into your own place. You guys are gonna love it once you get everything under control. Let's first talk about when you knew you were ready to move out. So to be honest, you do have to obviously make a steady income, which is kind of what I was waiting to do. If you guys don't know me already and it's your first time watching me, I am a full-time YouTuber. That was what I was kind of aiming for my career, and I wanted to make sure that when I moved out that I was making a steady income on YouTube. I wanted to wait about 4 to 5 months for the steady income to happen for me to even think about moving out, but I actually picked the apartment that I am living in currently years prior, so I knew exactly where I was moving. But I first want to go back to what we should talk about, which is how to pick an apartment that is for you and something that you can afford and love and enjoy. So I'm going to talk about myself personally. My budget was around $2,000 a month. I felt like it was a really good amount where I can continue the lifestyle that I have now and also be able to pay rent without it kind of overly draining my bank account. I do live in New Jersey, and the rent is decently high here. It's usually between $2,000 and $3,000 for a good place, and I made sure that I stayed as low as possible, also keeping the amenities that I needed and the size that I needed and the aesthetics that I wanted. I went apartment hunting, and I wanted to look for a place that had a good floor plan. So what I mean by this is everyone has their own specific type of floor plan that they want. And I felt like you can still be picky even if you're on a budget. You should pick a place that works for you. I work from home, so I need to make sure that the place that I live in is homey. It's a vibe. It feels good. I don't feel crowded or suffocated in the place I'm living. So I wanted to make sure that I found a place in a good neighborhood that had good amenities, that looked beautiful and bright. I always want my apartment to feel bright and airy, a lot of sun coming through it because I am a vitamin D deficient, especially in the winter, and I want to make sure that my, seasonal depression isn't being triggered. I also needed storage because your girl has a lot of stuff. So when I found the place that I live in now, I loved the fact that there was a hallway that entered you into the apartment. The apartment wasn't in the front door. So when you walk into an apartment and sometimes you open the door and there's the kitchen and the living room literally right there, I don't mind that for some people, but for me personally, the fact that I have a hallway that enters me into my apartment feels exactly like a home. So after I decided that this was where I wanted to live, I had to actually buckle down, start saving, and start planning the future. When you come from your parents' home, you do not have anything to bring with you except for maybe your bed and your clothes. You have to start over furniture-wise. You have to start over with bills. You don't even know what bills am I even paying? I had no idea. I thought you pay rent and you pay, your car payment. I had no idea all the other things that you need in order to live on your own. So things to save up for. A lot of the times people will say my budget is $2,000, but that is $2,000 overall, which means you technically need your apartment to be lower than that because you have utilities, you have your car payment, you have your rent, you have your amenity fee maybe, you have your security deposit. All of those things you have to tally up that will equal your budget, because if you are at your budget for your rent, you won't be able to live. You won't be able to have groceries or furniture or anything like that. All right, let's talk about exactly the steps that I did when I knew I wanted to move here. So I was making consistently around $3,000 to $4,000 a month before I decided I wanted to move. Now, remember, I have a partner. We both split the rent down the middle, so he was also making the same amount of money as I was at his job, so that equals about $8,000 a month. So because we were both making that much money, this is why our budget was at at $2,000. If I was single, I lived on my own, my budget would probably have been a lot smaller because when you apply to rent, they want to make sure that you make 3 times the amount of the rent. So if your rent is $2,000 a month, they want you to make $6,000 a month. It sounds kind of crazy, but they want to make sure that you can afford to even live there in the first place. They don't want you pinching pennies and living really tight to be able to afford your bills. So once we made sure that we got our floor plan, we got the floor we wanted to live on. Yes, we were picky about those things. We wanted to be on the top floor. We wanted this floor plan. We made sure it happened. We then applied. So the application fee to apply was $100. Something to look for when you are finding a place to live is try to find some sort of deal. Sometimes they waive application fees. Sometimes they give you 1 month of rent free. You should be looking for those things. When we moved in, we didn't really have some incredible deal, and I wish I looked for that maybe at the time, but I knew I wanted to live here, so I was honestly going to do anything to live here. So I ended up paying $100 for the application fee for myself, and my boyfriend also had to pay the application fee. Okay, so after applying, you have to show your income, your proof of income, your bank statements, all of that. So what I did personally, because I work for YouTube, is I showed my Google AdSense payments, and my boyfriend showed his pay stubs from the job that he works at. And they asked for 3 months worth of income. So if you just made your money this month, you have to wait 3 months. They want to see if you've been consistently making this money over a couple months period. It kind of depends on the place. It all depends on where you live. I'm just telling you from my perspective from New Jersey and what they want. They want to make sure that you have consistent money coming in every month. They don't want to see, your bank account going from 2 to 6 to 1 to 500. They want to see steady income. So I thought, oh my God, it's all over. I finally am approved. Things are going to be smooth sailing from here on out. I was wrong. I honestly had no idea that they ask you for a security deposit and a month's worth of rent. It all depends on the place. Sometimes people ask for 2 months worth of rent. Some people don't ask for a security deposit at all. It all depends on where you live. I had to provide a security deposit, which was $1,000 plus first month's rent, which was $2,100. So it was $3,100 total right off the bat. While I was still with my parents, I had to give them the check, and they wanted the check by a certain date, which was like 5 days after approval. So this can feel kind of discouraging because you want to put this money towards furniture. So again, keep that in mind when you're saving. Save for your security deposit and your rent way before you even get approved, so that when you do actually get approved, you'll already be prepared to have the money tucked away and you can focus on getting the things that you need for your apartment. And I also want to mention, depending on where you live, the things that actually cost money. One is amenities. Some places charge you amenity fees, and it could be up to $100 a month, whether it's for parking, for use of gym, a pool. They need to make sure that they keep the apartment complex running, so they charge you amenity fees every month. Another thing that costs money is dogs. To be honest, it kind of stinks, but it is what it is. And I would suggest to make sure that you look into if the place that you're going to be living is dog and pet friendly, because if they're not, then you just did all of that for nothing to find out that your dog isn't even allowed to live there. Moving can be extremely stressful, and it could feel super awkward. You kind of go through that gray period where you're like, okay, I still live at home, but I have a place waiting for me on this date. Something that's really important to note is that when you move, depending on the day you move, you get prorated for your rent. So what this means is, let's just say you move in the middle of the month, you will get prorated, so they will not charge you the full month's worth of rent because you didn't live in the apartment for that full month. Make sure that they do that when they charge you for your rent when you come in. You have to set up so many things prior to even moving into your apartment. I believe you have to switch over before even moving in your electric company. So they actually provide you, when you go to your apartment complex, with the electric companies that you are going to be working with, and they also tell you the cable companies that will be allowed into your apartment. My particular apartment only allows Optimum cable, so we actually had to call a technician to come and set up the TV after we moved in, and that was the only cable we were even allowed to have here. So you have to set up your water, so your sewer, you have to set up your electric, you have to set up your new address, you have to call the post office or submit a letter to make sure that they do a switch of address, because you don't want your mail getting sent somewhere else, whether it's at your old place or your parents' house. You want your mail coming to you, so you want to tell them, I'm moving in on this date, and this is where I want my mail to be sent to. It's honestly a whole fiasco, and this is the type of stuff that I wish I had known before moving, because I had no idea that you had to do all of this stuff. I wanna say that it was all worth it because I genuinely got my dream apartment out of it, and it was such a learning experience for me, and it really showed me exactly how to be an adult. It was something that I never experienced before, having to take care of so many things on my own. And if you guys don't have people who are super hands-on with you in your life and don't walk you through life, hopefully this video can help you guys out in preparing for your place before moving in. Stay tuned for Sunday because I'm gonna be talking to you guys all about what you need to know after you guys have already moved in or right before you move in, like the 24 to 48 hours before moving in, what you need to get, what you need to do, and how to prepare. All right, guys, stay tuned for Sunday's video, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this one. If you haven't already, give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, and follow me on Instagram. I hope that you guys get to have your move-in dreams like I did.